When you're ready, come to find a comfortable seat, and I'll encourage you to maybe try kneeling. Sometimes that can be tricky, especially if you're not used to your knees being in deep flexion, but we are going to open up the hips after, so see how you get on. And give yourself a little shoulder roll. You want the spine nice and long. And I would say if you do really struggle with your feet or your knees when you're in this position, you can soften these a little bit by just bringing some cushioning between the knees or underneath the feet. So elevate the hips a little bit with anything that works for you, and let's try and find a little bit of stillness, but with some comfort if we need it. Roll the shoulders and just come to find stillness when you feel ready. So you might need to just shake it out a little bit. You might need to just blow out through the lips. Do what you need to before we settle. And we'll close down the eyes this evening. Unless last month drishti was really working for you, I'll always give that option of holding your drishti as well. So again, just finding your starting position. My hands are just nestling in my hip creases, my shoulders are back and down, there's length through my spine, but there's a little softness to my belly. Relax through the face, shoulders away from the ears. You just come to find your starting position, and maybe you need a little sigh out through the mouth as well. That always feels pretty good. Great. So as always, we're just going to scan the body and check in. Ask yourself how you're feeling this evening. How have you felt today, this week? And remember, guys, it really doesn't matter if nothing definitive comes up. It's about exploring and just starting these conversations with yourself. And really tuning in and listening to anything. Everything is valid on your mat. And the more we practice and have a go with these conversations, the more likely we are to get used to them, and the more likely we are to listen and possibly take a little bit of action. So when you check in, it can be your physical body, your energy levels, your emotions, levels of stress, whatever it is, just listen. And this provides a little bit of a landscape or a context to our practice. We can be on our mat with kindness and compassion to ourselves. And we can move throughout the practice in a mindful manner. So less grasping and more surrendering and releasing in this slower practice. Let's start to find our breath whenever we're ready, which will just allow any thoughts to really settle now or ebb away. And in these slower practices, the mind will be a little trickier to monitor. We might have to listen to stuff that comes up, but we will hold on to a really long, steady, rich, deep breath. So wherever you are, let's all exhale now. And then breathe in for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Keep that up. Breathing in. 2, 3, 4. And breathing out. 3, 2, 1. Lovely steady streams of air entering the body nice and evenly, nice and smoothly as they exit. So we've got this lovely stream of air that just is continual. It's smooth, it's deep, and we want it to be quite settling. We want it to be soothing. We want it to feel like it's going all through the body to as far away as we can get it. That's how deep I want you to breathe this evening. Good. On your next inhale, we're just going to start to reach the arms wide. We're going to come into eagle arms, and we're staying with the cross-legged, the kneeling legs for a little bit longer. So start to bring your fingertips out in front of you, and the right arm is going to go over the left. And we're going to either cross at the elbow and hold the shoulders, or we're going to lift into eagle arms, which is where you kind of cross, wrap, and twist through the forearms and maybe the hands. And you feel a nice stretch through the back, a nice spreading of the shoulder blades. And I want you to lift the elbows up nice and high, reaching the prayer and the fingertips to the sky and getting the elbows in line with the shoulders. We're just going to hold this for a minute. So notice how right shoulder feels compared to left. Notice if the breath has become a little bit shallower or a little bit stickier or about halfway. Remember, this urge to move or to fidget is what we're trying to resist. So find your focus. Maybe it's just on the inner elbow in front of you, or you may still have the eyes closed, yogi's choice. Great, so from here, we're going to stick with the arms as they are. We're just going to move a little bit. So on your next exhale, I want you to bring the elbows down towards the navel and drop the chin to the chest. And as you inhale, I just want you to lift back up. And we're going to do 10 of those. So exhale to round and inhale to lift up. How's the breath? Is it nice and smooth? Can you kind of just iron out any little bits of stickiness? And we're not going too deep. We're going to get to do this again. So just starting to warm up gently into the spine. And getting a little bit of breath and movement nicely in sync. So can you begin and end the movement as you begin and end the breath? Final 3. Great, last round here. And then inhale, back to neutral. And let's just pause for a second and release really slowly. So maybe just bring the hands away from one another to begin with and keep the elbows crossed. And then drop the hands down and just allow the arms to come down. And drop the chin down to the chest. Now you can stay here, or you can start to just gently bring each earlobe to the top of each shoulder. Just some nice, gentle head rolls. And you might be able to check in with how the shoulders and the upper back feel. And we'll keep this head roll just going nice and gently. Nice and smoothly. Good, sorry if you can hear ringing. Great, and next time you're over to the left, let's just pause there and we'll start to either drape the left hand over the side of the face or reach out the right hand to add a little bit more stretch here. And notice now if your attention has shifted to the legs and the feet. We are coming out of this momentarily, just after this stretch, which again we're holding for a minute, so you've got about another 30 seconds. And instead of kind of pulling on the head, you're almost pressing the head into the hand. Good. Last few breaths. Great. Final breath here. Really well done. Nice stillness. Okay, so let's release this left hand and just use it to reposition the head. And you'll be pleased to hear we're walking the hands forward just to release out of this kneeling position. So take your time. We might want to kind of tap out the feet or move the ankles nice and slowly, just some pointing and flexing, maybe some circles. If the toes weren't tucked, it might feel pretty nice to tuck them. Great, so anything that feels good in the legs, you might even want to extend one leg and then the other. Great, so we will be coming back to kneeling in a second, but we're just going to have a little break in the legs. And from here, we're coming into melting heart. So a little bit of attention now to the upper body and the front body. So the fingertips kind of go to 10 and 2 o'clock, and the chin, the chest, the forehead are coming towards the floor. And we're going to do this for 2 rounds separately. So on this one, just take it easy, yeah? We've got another one of these after we've done the left side on some of those stretches we've already done. But we are going to be here for 2 minutes, so breathe deeply, get supported by drawing in the navel, keeping the toes nice and tucked. And you want the creases in the back of the neck to release, so just try and let the head be heavy, even if it's not towards the earth. Elbows lifted, fingers spread, breath nice and smooth. So you're about halfway, you've got 1 more minute here. So if you do want to go a little bit deeper, you can. But remember, keep the arms nice and strong, elbows lifted. Great, last few seconds. Let's do 2 more deep, rich breaths. Great. So before we move out, let's press through the hands and just lift up a touch. Great. And then very slowly start to slide or just pad the hands in your own time. Great. And then we're back in kneeling. So I encourage you, if you did have a little cushion last time to take the edge off, maybe lose that this time. I'm going to keep mine to one side and see how I get on without it this time. But if you know that you need it, come back to it, it's fine. And just notice how you feel. Yeah, we already might be feeling a little bit more broader through the shoulders and chest, a little bit more looser in the shoulders. Maybe one shoulder feels slightly different to the other. We'll be sorting that out right now. So let's float the arms out and up, and then bring the left elbow in front, well, on top of the right this time. So it might be a little bit different, but take your time to cross at the elbows and then lift them up so they're in line with the shoulders. And just so you know, you're really kind of spreading the upper back here. So there's a doming of the upper back as you lift the fingertips up. And we're here for 1 minute. So start to focus on the breath. Start to find your drishti. And remember, eyes can be closed. That's absolutely fine. You're about halfway already. Really good stillness, guys. So take 1 more breath. And then we've got those 10 little kind of cat and cows from seated. So see if you can kind of trace a little bit more of a straighter line and a longer line now, and go a little bit deeper into them. So it's 10 in your own time with your own breath. Trying to get that 4 count breath if we can. I'll keep going with you and we'll finish on my count. So I'm on 3. And this sequence is all about opening up the front body, which is linked to letting go. And that's a big topic, big theme for this month. But sometimes when we get towards the end of the year, it's a good time to reflect. And often the things that we hold on to for a little bit too long or can cause us a little bit of, I don't know, added stress or added concern or worry. Sometimes as soon as we let them go, there's an instant feeling of relief. So we're going to spend this month just reflecting on maybe what we can let go of. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy to let go. We've got 2 more of these. But even if we can start thinking about it, this is enough. Great, next time you're back in center, let's pause. And before we release, let's just think about how we're going to. So just release the hands first of all, then float the forearms down, release them wide, and then just place the fingertips down and just let the sensations settle. Drop the chin to the chest and come back to those little sways from side to side. Great, and you should naturally want to even this out. One side of your neck might just really feel, oh, we didn't get some time on that side. So hopefully you can feel that. And we'll pause with our right earlobe towards our right shoulder and really drop through the shoulders before you start to add anything on. So create that space, tall through the crown of the head, and then draping the right hand, reaching the left hand if you need to. And again, we've got a minute here, nice and steady. And if you can't feel much here, just play around with the angle of the chin. Little micro movements can really change how this feels. So come back to the breath and really focusing on the exhale to encourage that sense of letting go. About halfway. And this is where the feet, the legs, the toes might start to tingle. We've been kneeling again for quite a long time for a second set. So try to keep your attention in stillness, embracing this discomfort. Last deep, rich breath here. And let's start to really recognize this feeling of releasing and letting go. So bring your head back up to center nice and slowly. And you probably really can't wait to release the legs. So just enjoy the slow feeling of letting them release. And the relief that kind of washes over whatever part of the body that felt that quite intensely. And the freedom of the joints. Just come back to any movements that feel good. Now, before we go into our second melting heart, let's just take a few cat and cows here. So just to kind of move the spine a little bit more. And you'll notice that the focus is on the spine with this letting go sequence. And it's focusing on opening up the front body. Great. And you know, it's this kind of sacred part of us. It's our heart space, it's where all our vital organs are. So opening that space up is scary. Letting go is scary, yeah? Okay, let's come forward into a second set. And remember, you've got 2 minutes. So take it easy. And I'll give you your last minute cue. So if you do want to go a little bit deeper, you can. But remember, the arms stay active, we press through the hands. And whilst you're here, maybe you can start to think of any situations or relationships or circumstances that you're holding on to And let's leave it at that. So anything you're holding on to, because in our lives we hold on to a lot of things, and a lot of things are valid and we need to hold on to them, so it's good. So we don't want to make any kind of big decisions just yet. Let's just do a little bit of a sweep of what we hold on to in our lives, and hopefully those things are what are important to you. Okay, final minutes if you want to go a little bit deeper into that stretch and a little bit deeper into that bit of thought about all the things that you hold close to you for good reason, I'm sure. Well done, guys. You've got about 40 more seconds. Try and stay absolutely still. Try and just have the breath moving through you. Just give me 3 more breaths here. Last breath. Well done, guys. So before we ease out, let's look forward, push through the hands and slowly come up. And that should feel pretty intense after 2 rounds. So just slide and pad the hands back and just start to kneel or cross the legs again if you really can't stand kneeling now. We're not here for long, it's just a little bit of counteracting. So we're just going to almost give ourselves a little hug. So it doesn't matter which arm is on top. Chin to chest, a little bit of closing off, rounding of the back. Great, if you do want to switch that out, you can. If you're really focusing on keeping everything balanced, just another couple of breaths. Great. And then slowly come up, give the arms a shake, and we're going to come all the way down onto the belly now. And if you've got something handy that's like a strap, it might be useful, but we probably can reach for our foot. But if you know grabbing the foot might be really far away for you, maybe have something handy. However, there'll be options if you haven't got anything. So come to all fours and let's lie down on the belly. So we want to get nice and wide with the feet, draw up through the thighs so we're really kind of engaged from the waist and hips down. And you're going to prop yourself up, elbows underneath the shoulders. So you've probably done this one before, Sphinx. Now it doesn't look like a lot is going on, but a lot should feel like it's going on. So the sensation is you kind of dragging yourself along the mat. So my forearms, my hands and my fingers are really engaged in the mat. It's like I'm dragging kind of my torso along the floor. It's also a sense of drawing the shoulders back and into my back, and a sense of my upper arms wrapping into my rib cage. So there's a lot going on here, and if you can, it's a nice little lift of the chin and a kind of showing off of the collarbones. So drawing in of the navel, and sometimes I even shake a little bit here because that's how much I'm engaging, pulling myself through, and we're trying to almost get our rib cage through the upper arms. So we're going to hold for a minute from now, so about 90 seconds hopefully you've done in total, and it's quite intense. The upper arms will feel like they're working, the upper back and the sides of the torso will feel like they're working. Try and draw the navel in as if you're trying to suck it into the back of your spine. Relax the shoulders, keep the chin lifted. If that's too much, you can kind of lengthen through the neck by just dropping the gaze to the front edge of your mat, because all we're trying to do is broaden through the front of the chest, make the space between the front of the shoulders wider, broader. Okay, you've got about 30 more seconds. No compression in the lower back. A little bit of stretch maybe through some of the tummy muscles. especially if you're really drawing the navel in. Okay, last 2 breaths here. Good. As you exhale, just slowly come down, and that should feel like a really nice release as you come out of that. Stack the hands one on top of the other and just let the forehead come down and rock on your hips. Great. So we're going to come into a second set of that, but you have an option to go a little bit deeper. But the risk is here that we use the arm strength a little bit too much and we dump a little bit into our lower back. So everything you were just doing, I want you to do all of that, but then if you want to lift the elbows, you can. But that doesn't mean anything else switches off, because sometimes we can just do this where all the weight's in my hands and I'm not doing anything, where actually we're going to come back into Sphinx, so pulling, everything switching on, and then there's a lift of the elbows from the pulling, and you're still pulling. It's just my hands are in the earth now. So it's very, very intense, this one. So we'll do another minute from about now, and you have the option to lift the elbows and to pull your rib cage through even more, wrapping the upper arms into the rib cage, lifting the chin, pulling on the mat, pressing through the feet, drawing up through the thighs, zipping in the navel. So much going on, I know. But get a sense of it. You're almost halfway. This is very intense to hold for a minute. This is where you might shake a little bit. The breath might be a little sticky. Focus on that lovely steady stream of air. You've got 20 more seconds. Can you pull on the mat a little bit more? Can you pull the rib cage through a little bit more? Can you zip in the navel? 2 more breaths. Last breath. Really pull that mat towards you. Great. As you exhale slowly down. Hopefully you felt that. Maybe switch the hand that's on top. Let the forehead come down. Rock on the hips. Great. Well done. So we're going to give that little break now and work on opening up the front of our hip. So this is where you're going to create like a little stand with your left arm, kick your right heel in towards you, and maybe just do that a couple of times just to get the hamstring awake. And then if you can, you're going to hold onto the foot. But if that's far away, that's where this little loop can come in. So just use a strap or a dressing gown rope to help you. But if you can, a nice opening through the shoulder, if you can reach the foot, will encourage both parts of the body to open. Now it's easy for you to kind of just hang out here and focus on the shoulder. But if you start to kick your foot into your hand and also really start to press the leg into the floor so that you're using the floor as a nice what's the word, as a nice kind of platform or somewhere to kind of to make that hip stretch a little bit deeper. It's almost like you're trying to send your hip crease into the floor. Switch on the glute, and as much as you're pulling on the foot, I want you to kick away with the foot. That left leg is nice and active and strong to keep you supported, to keep you stable. You might even tuck the left toes for a little bit more support. Okay, we're going to do 90 seconds on this. So you've got about 30 more because I was talking a lot. So we're almost there on this side. Great. Last 3 breaths coming up. Good. Final breath. Can you kick into that hand just one more time? Great. Slowly. Ease down first, then start to release. And just take a moment, and we're going to slide the right arm underneath us. And it's kind of like that hug we just did, except we're using the floor now to just get that a little bit deeper. So the right arm is underneath, and you're just kind of flopping forward on crossed arms. Maybe you rock on the pelvis a little bit as well, and you'll notice the difference between the legs, yeah, between the hips. And we're just here for about 20 to 30 seconds between sides. Great. Slowly, let's come out. So unshuffle the arms. Create a little ledge and a little stand with your right arm now. And start to kick the left heel in a few times. Get the hamstring working. Flex the foot. And when you're ready, you can grab hold. Same thing, if you need to use a little rope, you can. And my thumb's pointing up. I should have said that, sorry. I'm taking the inside of my foot just to really encourage an opening through the shoulder. So remember, you're teasing that hip crease into the earth. You're kicking into the hand. You're pulling on the foot. And you can kind of play around with the kicking into the hand and the squeezing of the heel into the butt as well. So you can kind of play around with the hamstring strength on this one as well by just kind of kicking away and then drawing the heel in. As long as we're feeling this through the shoulder, through the left hip. And remember, maybe a tuck of the right toes just to support yourself. 40 more seconds. So really good if you've got tight quads as well as hip flexors. You should feel this in both of those. Okay, just give me 3 more breaths here. Maybe you can kick into the foot a little more. Maybe you can pull on the foot a little more. Maybe you can send your left hip crease into the earth just a little more for 3, for 2, and last breath. So as you exhale, just soften first, then slowly allow the foot to release. Great. And same thing, this time the left arm's going to come underneath, okay? And the right arm is on top. And we'll just kind of flop forward here on the arms and allow just a nice little counter posture here. So how's your thinking been going, or have you been focusing on the breath and the postures? What's those things you're holding on to? Have we got a list of 3 things? Great, okay. Let's shuffle out of this, and we're going to push ourselves into a child's pose, but a more restorative child's pose. So the knees are going to come together and the torso is going to drape over the thighs. The arms are going to come beside you, palms facing up, so the feet and the hands are next to one another. If the floor is far away from the forehead, or if this doesn't feel comfortable, you can just use a cushion to help you out. And just stay here for about 60 seconds, 1 minute we're here. And you may even want to hold on to your feet. That might feel like a lovely connection. And whilst you're there, let's really think about, out of those 3 things that might be now at the forefront of your mind, which one is the most precious to you? Which one do you hold close to your heart? Okay, hands beside knees when you're ready, and slowly roll yourself up, unfurl, and give yourself some nice shoulder rolls. So we're going to end with a bridge, a supported bridge if you want, or it can be active. I really don't mind. So if you haven't got bricks or blocks or bolsters, you can take a supported bridge. You can take an active bridge, or you can use the wall to help you. It's more of a supported shoulder stand. So options are to find something nice and solid beneath the hips. So you can layer up your cushions, you can use bricks, whatever's going to elevate the hips to the sky. So lying on those, and obviously you can make this a little bit higher with a brick or a bolster, or folding over a few blankets. If that's not too much for you and you want to go a little bit deeper, you can be active in your bridge. We want to get the hips kind of as high as the knees with your props if you can. If you can't, obviously, it's still a nice opening and you can actually extend the legs so then the hips are higher than the knees. But if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can be active or you can just prop yourself up a little bit higher with something more. So we're going to stay here for at least 20 breaths, which should be about 2.5 minutes or so. So like I said, I'll give you maybe a warning when we've got 1 more minute. So if you do want to take an active bridge, you can, and then you might lower down for the last minute to a little something more restorative. Really pressing through the feet nice and firmly, and we're really trying to tease the hips to the sky. And building nice strength here as well through the glutes and through the hamstrings. You can tuck the shoulders and clasp the hands as well if that feels a little bit more, if that feels better for you. Or you can hold the arms overhead, catching elbows. I really don't mind, as long as your hips are opening up to the sky, your hip creases, where your jean pockets would be. That's all we're looking for in this final posture. So if you think about our hip creases, they're often in flexion. Think about every time you sit, every time you walk, every time you do exercise like a run or a cycle, they'll be working this flexion. So some time with open hips, but without the pressure of having to hold our weight. So we're not standing on our feet, yeah? This is a nice restorative version of opening up your hips. So although standing is great, standing desks, all of that stuff is great. When we're lying, gravity can really just release into other areas so that this opening is a lot more effective. So really, for the last minute now, surrender the weight fully, maybe to your props. But by all means, you can stay active if you want. You've just got 1 more minute. So before we ease down, let's just come back to that one thing that is really close to your heart that you hold on to. I want you to just explore why. Why is that situation, that person, that circumstance, that experience so close to your heart? Why did you put that as your most important aspect of something in your life you hold on to? What qualities does that have? What relationship does that give you? What feelings does that encourage? Just as a little check that It's giving you all the right feelings. 3 more breaths. So hopefully those are feelings of warmth, happiness, of contentment, peace, calm. Maybe they weren't. And that just might have allowed you to think about why you chose that thing that you hold so close to your heart. And was that the right thing? Is it the right thing? What feelings does it evoke? So I'm just swishing my legs now, I've kind of eased down. And that should feel pretty nice as you release your spine back to the floor. And maybe you've kind of let go of any blocks and you've really kind of come down before swishing the legs. And then bringing the knees in towards you. Maybe not lifting the head and shoulders up, just enjoying a little hug of the knees. A little swish and sway from side to side. Maybe some circles. Before we find our way all the way to one side, so just allow the knees and your torso to drop over to whatever side feels right for you. And if you had the eyes closed for your practice, it's time to maybe blink them open now and just focus on maybe the edge of the mat and how it meets the floor. And you might just hover over anything that came up for you during your practice. Those things you hold on to, the one that was closest to your heart and reasons why. And when you're ready, just slowly push yourself up. Come back to where we began. Kneeling or easy seat. I don't mind. Preferably what you started in. That might have been a little bit uncomfortable at the beginning, but now maybe we can embrace that discomfort a little bit easier. So we'll finish with some stillness. We want you to take 10 breaths. Wherever you are, nice exhale now. And we're coming back to that count of 4. Deep rich breath in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Long slow breath out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep that up, breathing in. And breathing out. Breathing in. And breathing out. 7 more in your own time. Can you make each round of breath smooth, rich, deep, and long? Can you almost feel a wave of calmness as the breath enters and leaves the body? This sense of the inhale really nourishing and giving. This sense of the exhale releasing and letting go. Last couple. Final breath. Great. Well done, everyone. Just drop the chin down to the chest if that feels good for you. Maybe the hands on the lap, or you may rest the hands at heart center. But just a moment here to send some gratitude to yourself for finding the time for this practice. Gratitude to your fellow yogis for sharing it with you tonight. Well done. Big gratitude from me to you always.